Hi, this is Gilles, the radio prepper. Today I'm going to tell you a story about how I got interested in radio. Like a lot of people in the early 80s, I got into CB radio. And I was about 14 years old. I remember having a Lafayette LM300, AM, FM, 40 channels. Later I had a President Jackson, a little bit more channels, a little bit more power. It was a great CB radio. And for a very long time after that, I just didn't get into radio anymore. I just forgot about it. But it was always sort of in the back of my mind. And later, when I lived in Florida, I once bought a book about the technician no code license at Radio Shack, actually. But I never went for the exam, and I never really studied for it. Now, fast forward to 2012. That's when I really started thinking about it for a practical kind of way, prepping, getting ready, being able to communicate. Since I went to school for electronics, I thought, well, I'll get something cheap to start with, and I'll just build a kit. So I got a Weber DC20B, which is still sold, by the way, on qrpkits.com. So that's a single band, 20 meter, or other bands, but I built the 20 meter version. Very simple, crystal controlled, I think 500 milliwatts output. And I did hear code. I built an antenna, and I heard Morse code, and I really got hooked on it. It just seemed to be so efficient, so elegant, so simple. You could make contacts using Morse code, CW mode, when actually voice would not go through, and that really spoke to me. So I thought then, well, I need a real radio, not a little gadget like that. And that's when I bought an Elecraft K1 kit. Now, mind you, I didn't have a license, and I didn't know Morse code. But I spent $300 back then on an Elecraft K1 kit, which I wasn't quite sure I was going to be able to build, and I just couldn't use. Of course, later it turned out to be one of the best decisions I've made in amateur radio. The Elecraft K1 is an excellent radio, and a radio is mainly a receiver, and it does have an excellent receiver. The VFO is analog. It's a fully analog radio, so there is no DDS, digital signal generation. It's all analog, and you really hear the difference. It's a pretty simple radio, but it has very good filters, and it looks awesome. So I bought the books from the ARRL, and I started studying the code. I went for the exam, passed all three at once, got from 0 to extra basically, and I plugged in my K1. I had a PAR and fed antenna, and I made my first contact ever as a ham radio operator in Morse code using the Elecraft K1 I had just built. That was absolutely awesome. 5 watts out from Florida to France, to a station F5IN, if I remember well. I think he's a well-known contester in France. So that radio is a bit special to me, I have to say. I had the 2-band module to start with, 20 and 40 meters, and I later bought the 4-band module. I also built the automatic tuner, and so that made it a very complete radio, which did pretty much everything I needed. Now, unfortunately, I had some hard times, and once it was choosing between eating and selling the K1. And I'll tell you, I should have gone hungry, but I sold my K1, and I always regretted it. So later, maybe a year later, I was back on my feet, and I bought another one, used. But it really wasn't mine. I mean, it was mine, but I didn't build it, and that really bothered me in a way. And I really enjoyed that radio. I wanted to keep it forever, but long story short, I left Florida on my sailboat to the Bahamas, and I'm not gonna explain the whole thing, but basically I lost my boat in the Bahamas. The anchor dragged while I was on shore, and the boat was taken away by the Gulf Stream, and with everything I owned on it, including the K1 and a bunch of other radios. That's when I decided to go back to France 3 years ago. But I've been thinking about that K1 ever since. So about a week ago, you might have seen it, I published a video asking for someone, if someone had a K1 for sale. I was hoping to find a used one just to replace mine, but they're no longer manufactured by Elecraft, so you can only find used models. Of course, I couldn't have ever hoped to find a kit. Those are very, very hard to find, but I did. It's just an incredible story, and I would like to thank Leland, Leland, you know who you are, man, and you're awesome, because he sent me, well, I bought it, but he sent me an Elecraft K1 kit, still in the box, 18 years old, hadn't been touched, and it came with the with two band modules, the stand, the ATU, and a noise blanker. And that's absolutely incredible, because I got to build an Elecraft K1 again, and I'm so happy about that. The radio is made of 3 circuit boards. You have the front panel that has the LCD, so 3-digit LCD. It has all the buttons, and well, here it is, I'll show it to you, because I finished building it. So LCD buttons here, volume, RIT, and a bunch of stuff. I'll explain the whole thing. And you can add the automatic tuner and a noise blanker. The noise blanker doesn't do much of anything, so I'm not going to put that in. But the automatic tuner is very useful. Now the build went pretty well. I didn't film it because I was in a hurry, and filming takes a lot of time, and you guys have seen me build kits. I mean, it's not the most interesting thing ever. So just one little thing that I messed up. Of course, there were problems, and I fixed them. Alright guys, I spared you the build, but you're gonna get the smoke test. First, power on with the front panel, and there should be some LEDs blinking, and I'm not sure what else. E27, I didn't see any LEDs though. Duh. And finally got the Elecraft to work. I still have to build the ATU, because I messed up an integrated circuit on the board on the front panel, which I had to take from the ATU kit. So now I ordered it to replace the part for the ATU kit. My first filter board I built for 40 and 20 meters. The second one I'm going to build for 80 and 30 meters. It's almost finished, but I was missing some components. I sent an email to Elecraft, and I'm sending them to me. So it won't be long before I have those working, but I can use the radio, it's ready to go. I haven't made any contact with it yet, but I'm going to try this afternoon. I'm not going to go very far because I haven't been feeling great this week, some health problems, so I'm not going to go far by myself, but I'll be alright. But I'll wait for that. I'll wait next weekend. Next weekend probably we'll go up to the mountains. But today I'm going to go to Vaugrenier, the park, the local park here, and try to make some contacts with the K1. I did test it last night just a little bit to see if it worked, and I plugged in my 2-meter J-pole antenna, which is crazy because it's about 1.5 meters long, and it's for 2 meters, not 20. I tuned it with the T1 tuner from Elecraft, and I actually got some reports about 1,200, 1,300 miles away on 20 meters with such a short antenna. So I know the transmitter works. Couldn't hear much of anything though, of course, it's way too short, but I know the radio works. Now, if that isn't the cutest radio you've ever seen, I don't know what to tell you. But here it is, it works. It's on 20 meters. Here's how we change the bands. Well, you can check the band. 14062.2, double click, 40 meters, 7067.1. We change the frequency. Now it's fairly drifty, so sometimes it just wanders, you leave it on frequency and you come back 10 minutes later and it's on another frequency. It went on a little hike, like a 1K hike, 1 kilohertz, something. So it is drifty. You have to let it warm up, and after that it becomes much more stable. It works with menus, so menu, okay, here's the power out, for instance. I don't know why it's on 4.7. I put it on 6, I think. Yeah, 6 watts. Maximum is between 6 and 7. And you have other options that you can set. It's fairly easy to set up. So the filters are here. filter 2, filter 3, back to 1, and words per minute for the keyer, I put it on 17 words per minute. You have an attenuator. No difference here, of course, there's no antenna plugged in, and you actually can play messages. I'm not going to do it because I don't have an antenna here, so but you can record 2 messages and play them back, transmit them back automatically on a loop. And you have the RIT, so you can change the receive frequency without changing the transmit frequency. And that's about it. You have a speaker. That's the great thing about it. I love it because I don't like to use earphones, and that speaker is pretty darn good. The kit included the built-in battery pack, but I didn't use it because that implied using a smaller speaker, and I didn't want the smaller speaker. We'll turn that off. You can see the back. The stand is here, and take the power out. And we'll have a quick look at the back of the radio here. Nothing fancy, of course. Antenna, 12 volt. I think maximum is 15 volts, if I remember well. This is the on-off button, serial number, and the key. And that's it. Pretty nice park outside of the weekends. There's nobody here, which is awesome. I'm using the QRP Guys tri-band antenna, and you can clearly see the 4 radials and the black radiating wire. I also found a great gizmo here for my mast out of the fishing aisle. A fishing pole support, which is great. Both switch are on 20 meters here, and I'm noticing they're starting to rust actually. And I have a nice operating position here in the shade. I don't think I'm going to need a tuner on 20 meters. Let's see, of course, it's always a problem here. Touch screen doesn't always work great. And we're gonna go on 20 meters and do a scan. About 1.5 to 1 on the whole band, I guess. I have a pack of 3 18650 cells that I made, and my Kent key. I always clean my key a little bit, the contacts, with a little bit of paper. Well guys, it's starting to rain, and like lots of radios, including Elecraft and maybe especially Elecraft, I don't want my radio to get wet. It's not made for that. It's a portable radio, yes, but I would be very worried about using it under any kind of drizzle. So, but it's an awesome radio, really, and I seem to be receiving really well. I get a lot of reports on the reverse beacon network, so who knows, I don't know. I was expecting many more contacts. Maybe there is, like I said, a discrepancy between transmit and receive frequency. I didn't do a very good alignment, and maybe I have to go back to that and realign the radio. Daniel. Now, is the K1 the radio for prepping? I don't know. It could be, with a Pelican case, something to protect it. I'm really looking forward to having the 30 meter and 80 meter filter board, because that will be two great bands, a day band and a night band, and that's what you need. 20 and 40 meters work pretty well too, but I think I'll be better served by 30 and 80. 80 is better for evening and part of the night NVIS, near vertical incident skywave, and I think it's gonna work better than 40 meters. But hey, I'm pretty happy with it. 20-40, I'll have 30-80, perfect combination. Okay, so now, why didn't I hear anyone answer me? And why didn't people answer my calls? Well, the answer is right here, guys. My MTR here is set to 14060, and my K1 is set to 14060. I'm going to transmit on the MTR, listen. That's not a 550 Hz tone. Let's find it. Yep, 59.5. And that's about a 500 Hz difference. And that's the reason. And I need to correct this so that I receive the 550 Hz tone on the same frequency. I use a sound spectrum analyzer app on my phone for this. Now I just adjusted the C20 capacitor so that the tone is matching. And the peak here is at 550 Hz. Perfect. So tuning the K1 does require a little bit of tweaking. It's not difficult, but it just takes a bit of time. It will probably take a few outings for me to get it perfect. So today the receive frequency was about 500 Hz off, just at the edge of the filter, so there might have been quite a few people answering me and I couldn't hear them. The same way the people I replied to didn't hear me. The ones who did must have been slightly off frequency on the receive side. Now I need to send a little message to Elecraft. And I've been a long time customer of Elecraft. I bought a K1, I bought a KX2, I bought a K2, I bought a KX3. So I know Elecraft, and you guys, and I know Wayne watches this channel once in a while, so Wayne, if you see this video, and the other people at Elecraft, you guys need to bring back the K1. The K1 and the K2, for me, are the flagships of Elecraft. It's not the K3 or the KX2 or the KX3. Those radios don't have the soul of the K1 and the K2. If I can ascribe a soul to a radio, of course, that's preposterous, but you get my drift. No pun intended about the K1. But those radios are special, and they were real kits that one could build. And of course, you still offer the K2, and that's awesome. I suspect it's not going to be offered for very long, so if anyone thought about building a K2 ever, now's the time, because like the K1, I think it's on its way out. And the K1's been out for some time. But I think there is a niche for it, and there is a demand for it. I mean, look at the QCX from Hans Summers at QRP Labs. Of course, it's only a $50 radio, but he sold probably close to 5,000 right now. And there is a niche for a small QRP radio of very good quality. And of course, the K1 is much better than the QCX. It's also a dual band, or it used to be a quad band radio. All analog, and that's what makes the difference too. It's
To me, it probably is the best QRP radio ever produced by any manufacturer, along with the K2, of course, but those two are really special. And I really, and I think I'm not the only one, would like to see the K1 back as a kit, through hole components, same case, same looks, analog, just like it is now, just maybe a little bit newer technology, but nothing really different. And I think that would be a great idea, and a lot of people would be very happy about that, me first. So if there is any way to do that, and maybe you guys, my subscribers, could pester Elecraft until they come up with a new K1, that'd be awesome. By the way, what I would really like to find now is a circuit board for a 2-band filter, because I still have a bag of components for 15 meters, and I really would like to make a 15 and 160 meter board. Now the 160 meter was never offered by Elecraft, but there is a list of components that you can get to make a 160 meter board for the K1, and I really would like to do that. So if someone please has a circuit board for a 2-band filter board for the K1 that they haven't used, you'd be willing to let it go, please contact me. Thank you very much. And thanks a lot to my Patreon subscribers, because you guys are my lifeline, I'll tell you. I spend way too much money on this channel, much more than what I make, and YouTube doesn't get me much at all. So Patreon is the way for me to keep this channel going. So if you guys would like to help a little bit, help me make more content and more quality content, get extra content also, because sometimes I post extra videos, please do so. Go to patreon.com. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.